So, you've been wondering about Harvestella. What it's like, how does it play, is it worth 60 of your hard-earned dollars? Well, I won't try to make that decision for you, but I will show you what it has going on and tell you what I think about it. Harvestella begins by thrusting your character into a world under a heavy blanket of quietus, a phenomenon occurring between seasons in which crops wither and a dust that's believed to be deadly is dispersed into the air. As you lay there, utterly helpless, a mysterious girl appears during your time of need, healing you enough to get up and run a few unnecessary paces across town so that she can tell you that you might be the one to save the world, and that the time will come where you have to choose between this world and the one that existed until now. A lot to process for a person who is completely unconscious and still inhaling death. After that, your hard-learning ass refuses to find any kind of shelter, confirming that huffing dust and passing out might just be fun for you. You awaken to a doctor named Cress that is so inconvenienced by stumbling across you, a lowly sick person, that she was about to use magic on you to wake you up. And I'ma tell you, that didn't look like healing magic either. It's uncovered that you have amnesia, because of course you do. You've been breathing quietus but deadly farts all day, and it's a JRPG farming sim. Amnesia's basically a given. Cress, never lacking in doctorly grace and bedside manner, decides that her time is better spent on her rounds than on the confused, disoriented amnesiac. But hey, don't worry, you're allowed to come to the clinic once you're feeling a bit more with it. Within an amount of time, you become with it enough to run to Cress's clinic. That's right, you run there. Don't be a baby. You think almost dying is gonna get you sympathy? Think again. You're in Cress's town now, bitch. At the clinic, Cress explains quietus and gives you an exam. She claims you're lucky to be alive, and I have to agree, any of her patients would be. Then suddenly, we have a problem. The Sea's Light is misbehaving. The Sea's Light is a big-ass crystal that does things and stuff and whatnot. It shoots out some crap that lands in town, and for some reason that's now your problem. At the scene, an entrance appears and naturally you must insert yourself. Cress and her brother yell and pretend to care, but f them. You met them 5 minutes ago. This is your light. Surprise, surprise, there's someone in there. You want to help them, but there's drama about them being an omen. You're a chill dude though, so you're like, so what? All I see is a person who needs help, so let's help. Duh. After guilting Cress into doing her job, you exit the vessel, and the mayor rocks up looking all wise and shit. Cress's clinic beds are full, so the chill-ass mayor suggests both you and the alleged omen shack up at Birdseye Bray. From there, shenanigans ensue. My subjective opinion is that this baby has tropes and cliches for miles. The writing is cornier than your crops, and that joke, okay, maybe on par with that joke, but I ain't mad at it. I can have fun, sometimes even more fun than usual, rolling my eyes at bad writing. It's just, I don't know if ironic is the right word, that this game places such importance on its narrative when it's cheesy as fuck. But now, let's take a look at the gameplay. You begin your game by customizing your character. I use the term customize lightly because your options are pretty limited. You may choose your gender between 2 body types, a few skin colors, eye and hair color, and 2 voices, one masculine and the other feminine. Character customization is so basic that it made me wonder why it was there in the first place. It's usually nice to have the option, but in some cases it feels completely unnecessary. This is one of those cases. I would have been just as happy playing as a predetermined character as a third party because that's essentially what it feels like anyway. Being able to change a few things didn't do anything to improve the experience. Harvestella revolves around progressing the story, farming, of course, combat, gathering, fishing, animal rearing, questing, cooking, crafting, and collecting. A solid all-around lineup for this genre. Naturally, you'll be spending a lot of your time farming, To do so, you have a set of tools that you can upgrade by doing various requests. You'll also get access to a wide variety of seeds to sow. Switching between the tools and planting seeds was easy and fun, though sometimes the timing was a little awkward. The tool or seed bag will linger for a bit to set up for the next action, but once I got more used to how it worked, I found the process quite satisfying. Processors must be placed on farmable spaces. They are machines that convert a raw material into a different product. For example, meat goes into the smoker and becomes smoked meat. That kind of thing. You have limited space for crops and processors/makers. Thankfully, you're able to upgrade your farm to get more room for all your crap. Crops you had in the field wither and die during Quietus. You're also limited in where you can go and what you can do during Quietus. You can go poke around Leith Village, but the village is essentially shut down and people just yell at you through their doors. You can run around on your farm and also fish if you want. Animal rearing is another feature. It's unremarkable for the most part, your typical feed 'em, pet 'em to build up affection and collect the produce daily. I would have liked to have seen it more fleshed out, like some simple breeding mechanics for example. That would have been a welcome addition to make it a little less bland. But in the end, it gets the job done. Tied in with the farm and other things you'll do on your journey are the fairy requests. These are goals or milestones to shoot for in order to get upgrades and rewards. Things like grow a certain amount of vegetables or do a certain amount of quests in a certain location, that sort of thing. In farming sims, depending on your personality and management skills, it can get difficult to self-motivate. It is for me at least. I welcome having extra predetermined goals to shoot for that are laid out very plainly. There are things I might want to do anyway, but having them presented in this format makes it easy to keep track of, and I feel extra rewarded when it's checked off. Combat is another vital part of Harvestella. You'll need to fight your way through dungeons and landscapes in order to collect parts for crafting and cooking, and most importantly, progress the story and complete quests. This element of gameplay is one that farming sims/RPGs seem to have a hard time with. Harvestella is no exception. While I would say it's one of the better examples of combat in a farming sim, it still falls short. On your way through the game, you acquire various jobs to level and gain different skills for each one through a job point system. There's also a break gauge, which gives you the opportunity to pile on even more damage. You can take advantage of these opportunities by using a special attack with your ally. These are attacks that you can utilize once you've gotten close enough with your comrades. To get better bonds with your allies, you need to complete special quests. This is a fine way to do combat. Having different options to play around with and try out was interesting. Unfortunately, it didn't feel like there was much incentive to do so with the jobs, as long as you keep in mind basic things like elements and magical versus physical defenses. Perhaps there will be later on, but so far the act of combat itself felt like the button mash-a-thon you might expect from a low-budget action JRPG. The dungeons you traverse to accomplish your goals are windy corridors filled with monsters and big-ass scary forms of monsters called fear. You typically want to avoid these, and your allies will start whining about them once you're in the vicinity of one. But though they seem big-assed and scary at first, they aren't really that intimidating, as they were pretty easy to avoid. Nothing felt especially challenging even during boss fights. There was no thrill of almost getting my ass handed to me and having to come up with a different strategy. If I was doing a shitty job, it just took longer to defeat something. Perhaps things ramp up later, or depending on what challenges you decide to take on, like if you want to attempt to kill a fear or something. But otherwise it seems like you can just fart your way through for the most part. Personally, I would have liked to seen a difficulty spike earlier. That being said, I don't feel like it's imperative that combat is perfect in a game like this. Some people probably prefer it this way. It suits the genre's more laid-back style if combat isn't very punishing, but I would have preferred more of a challenge. Something I found intriguing were these mysterious sparkle points that you encounter in dungeons. If you interact with one, you'll be given a scenario and a choice. Depending on your choices when going through the scenarios, good or bad things can happen, such as finding items or incurring some kind of penalty. So, what do you do with all these materials you've fished? Yes, there is fishing, but it's stupid easy. Just cast, wait for a bite, and press a button. 4. Picked up off the ground. or have gotten from slain monsters. Well, you can sell them, craft, or cook with them. For the two latter activities, you spend time and materials to make food, new items, or processors/makers. You can get new recipes as you progress and by doing quests. Crafting and cooking were pretty standard mainstays. Nothing stood out to me as innovative, but I was glad they were there and I enjoyed them thoroughly, as I always do. Harvestella has one of the most beautiful art styles in the farming sim genre. The portraits and all drawn art are strikingly beautiful. The color choices are whimsical and pop, but they aren't too oversaturated. I truly enjoyed quite a few of the character designs, but there was a lingering element of cookie cutter vibes that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Something about the faces lacked variety. The layouts and themes of the towns were especially fun to look at and plod through, but my favorite parts were the interiors. I loved the little knickknacks and details. They really made things seem homey. The models are fine, but the animations are not. They leave much to be desired. They're often stiff and simple, which accentuates the bargain bin JRPG vibe. Sometimes the gestures done during conversations are just laughably awkward in context. Thank goodness they included portraits, which are a much better indication of what the characters are feeling. And now let's talk shit about vegetables. Look at how ugly this wheat is. It's probably GMO. And anytime you perform an action, the lighting on your produce just screws up. Performance-wise, I've seen much better and much worse, but it ain't good. The game blurs out, I assume to maintain or improve the frame rate, but regardless, there are still scenarios in which it chugs. Pop-in is kinda crap too, and it's really noticeable when the textures load in. It's certainly playable, and some would probably just call it a minor inconvenience, but I'm looking at this game through the lens of it being a full $60. Taking all of my thoughts into consideration, you might be surprised to find out that I actually have a positive view of Harvestella. It's a lot of fun, and it has a lot to offer. It falls short in a few areas, sure, but so do a lot of farming sims these days, especially the Switch versions, graphics, and performance. I like the angles at which the devs approached the genre. They did a few things a bit differently, and it's enough to distinguish it from the competition. This was a solid first foray. The competition, like Story of Seasons and Rune Factory, offered different flavors of fun than Harvestella, so this fits into its own niche while also going toe-to-toe. Though if you were to ask me if this game is worth $60, I'd say hell no, but that's just me. I put a lot of value in the overall fun, but also the polish of a game, and I expect a lot for a full $60. Harvestella just does not satisfy all of my requirements. I'd be totally okay with $30 though. I feel they deserve a nice $30-inis, but you might feel differently, and that's totally fine. Obviously. I hope my opinion is one thread that goes into your tapestry of consideration regarding this game, but I want to remind you there is a demo. Don't forget the demo. You will be the best judge of what you like, and the demo is a great way to find that out for yourself. With that said, I am gonna head on off and play more games. Hope you do the same. See you next time. Bye.